Okay, let's bring in Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, great to have you. Proud of you for pushing McCarthy to do what every American, at least conservative America, wanted him to do. Question, did he go far enough, Matt?
We're going to have to go a lot farther because we will be judged not by our press releases and statements, but by the actual results of all of this. One of my frustrations with Kevin McCarthy is that too often it seems to be failure theater with him. Like, I woke up today and apparently we were in an impeachment inquiry. And when I woke up yesterday, we weren't. And you know what? It doesn't feel that different, Bolling. You know why? We still didn't send out a subpoena to Hunter Biden. We still haven't brought Biden family members in to give testimony. We still, I think, have lacked the vertically integrated subpoena strategy.
Congressman, why is it? Why hasn't the Oversight Committee done that?
Yeah, there's this belief on the Oversight Committee that they have to get every last bank record, every last text message or communication before bringing in Hunter Biden. Keep in mind, when the Democrats were in control, they brought Don Jr. in 3 times during their first year in power. And so they had no problem asking witnesses to return. We seem to have a little bit of hesitation about that, and I would suggest we move past it. We have to hold Speaker McCarthy's feet to the fire to ensure that the investigative work happens, that the hearings occur, and that this just isn't an impeachment inquiry in name only.
This is important because you're hitting on something very important. The American people saw you go to the House floor, go to the microphone and say, Speaker, either you do the things that we promised the American people and the things that we're kind of elected on, or risk an up and down vote to bounce you out of the speakership. That was an important moment. So he goes and says, inquiry into impeachment, which feels to me, Matt Gaetz and Eric Bolling, friends, like, okay, let me stick a little bandage on this hemorrhage over here, because an inquiry is not an actual impeachment proceeding.
And he's actually used this exact same bandage before. And the last thing anyone wants is a used bandage. You'll remember back in January of this year, when McCarthy's power was in jeopardy, he threatened an impeachment of Mayorkas. Everywhere he went, he was saying, oh, well, we've got to have this Mayorkas impeachment. And if I'm not Speaker of the House, then that impeachment could be in peril. And here we are 8 months later. Did Kevin McCarthy lose his gumption regarding Mayorkas, or does he believe that the border was somehow fixed? You see, so the pattern I recognize is when he's in trouble, he does this kind of reflexive veer toward impeachment. But impeachment isn't the only thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about the spending. If we want to stop this woke and weaponized government, if we want to get rid of funding for Jack Smith and the election interference operation the Biden administration is running, we cannot have a continuing resolution. When your viewers hear continuing resolution, what they should hear is continuing election interference, continuing the Green New Deal, continuing inflationary spending, continuing an open border.
The reason why this is important, Congressman, is there are people, me included, I asked MTG last night, I said, did McCarthy buy your vote for a continuing resolution or a clean bill by saying he'll launch an inquiry into an impeachment? She said absolutely not. She wasn't going to vote for a continuing resolution. How about you, Congressman?
Yeah, you can't buy MTG's vote with anything, nor mine. And while the impeachment process, I think, is important to get to the truth, like, an impeachment of Joe Biden isn't going to save this country if we're running annual $2 trillion deficits. I'm sorry, it's just not. We have to be able to constrain spending. During COVID, federal spending increased by 40%. And now Republicans act like it's some huge deal to roll it back maybe 1%. Give me a break. We have to have serious vertical cuts. We have to cap the $1 trillion that's going to be outlaid on these Green New Deal tax credits that Wall Street's already out there gobbling up with all of their might and muster. And that dilutes the spending power for every single American when you go to the gas station, when you go to the grocery store.
So a bunch of news services today received this memo from the White House, from Ian Sams. I don't know who this hell this guy is. First time I've ever seen him. Kind of a wacky looking guy. But it's about calling you guys liars. And the operative line right here, Congressman, is that it's time for media to ramp up its scrutiny of House Republicans, you, for opening an impeachment inquiry based on lies. You want to respond to the White House?
Well, clearly, I think what we can all agree on is that Matt Gaetz hasn't received enough media scrutiny. So certainly if the White House is there to dial that up, I don't know what they're waiting for. But you know what this rang like, Eric? Remember back when the Hunter Biden disinformation letter came out? We had the laptop that had all this evidence of corruption on it, and the White House and the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, they were all trying to get media companies to censor it. And you see, this is that same play that they're running again, but now they want no coverage of the corruption, of the bank records, of the travel logs, of the devices, of the communications, of the threats, of the bribes, all of the things that build the evidence for this massive case that we have. They're trying to really deter coverage by sending a threat from the White House. It's quite something.
From the White House to media companies. My pocket constitution, the left goes crazy when I pull this out. They think they hate it. They hate it. There's violations of the First Amendment in this letter, I believe. And I'm also believing that we're continually losing our freedoms and our rights. Fourth Amendment's being violated left and right with the Patriot Act and others. Listen to KJP today pointing a finger at you and MTG saying this is all your fault. Listen.
The only reason Speaker McCarthy is doing this political stunt, and we have seen it, you all have reported, is because Majority Taylor Greene has said she threatened to shut down the government. Can you imagine shutting down the government over a political stunt? And we're talking about vital programs that American families need. And she said that because she wanted him to actually do this. And if he didn't, she would shut down the government. And you have Matt Gaetz as well, threatened to oust him as Speaker if he didn't do it. So he didn't even put up for a vote, as you all know, because he knows that even his own members weren't going to support this.
Final thought, Congressman, you want to respond to Karine Jean-Pierre?
You were right. A little civics lesson. Marjorie Taylor Greene cannot single-handedly shut down the government. I can't believe the White House press secretary doesn't know that, but it shows how ridiculous the claim is. I think she probably does have it right that I pressured McCarthy into some action here, and we're all for the better as a consequence. But what she has wrong is that this is the only thing, as if it was like impeachment or bust. Look, impeachment is not some get-out-of-jail-free card for Kevin McCarthy on the motion to vacate. Let me be very clear about that. It is about spending us into oblivion and continuing the Biden administration's policy choices and spending habits that the American people abhor and disdain, and actually elected us to fight against those things, not to valet them into law.
I don't mean to cut you off. I got to go, but I have to ask you this. Are you going to call for a vote to vacate the speakership for McCarthy? Are you going to do it?
I will if he does not immediately come into compliance with the deal. He knows exactly what the terms are, and I am not known for being a particularly patient man.
And you will hold him to it, and we will hold you to it, Congressman Matt Gaetz. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Eric.